Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Janan Sarwar, and on behalf of ITVusa, I'd like to welcome you to our daily Ramadan show entitled Our Prosperous Ramadan. On this show, we interview inspirational Muslims to learn more about what they do in both their professional spheres and in their communities, and also how they are prospering this Ramadan. It's my honor to introduce you today to two individuals, Ashley Pearson Khan and Imran Khan. They are a married couple living in Toronto who are passionate about various community initiatives. Most notably, they're activists for women's rights and empowerment. Ashley currently serves as the spokesperson for World Hijab Day organization, and she's pursuing Islamic studies with Mariam Institute. And Brother Imran serves as a senior vice president in the market research industry. Ashley holds a Master of Science in Higher Education, and Imran holds a Master of Arts in Immigration. Without further ado, I'll introduce you to our guest. So, Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Walaikum salam, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me. You know, I had a chance to share a little bit, and you are both a very fascinating couple, have done a lot in the time that you've been married and in this world. MashaAllah, I'm really impressed, and I'm very excited for everyone to meet you. But would you like to share anything else to start off this conversation about yourselves, about the work you do, before I ask you some additional questions?
Is there anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, we can get started.
Okay, let's get started. One of the things that I know both of you for is actually the Pearson Khan Award for Women's Empowerment. And I'd love for you to share what this award is and where it came from. What inspired you to create a scholarship or something like this?
No, absolutely. I'm happy to begin the conversation about talking about the Pearson Khan Award for Women's Empowerment. So, for Ashley and I, women's empowerment is something that's really important. And, we're very blessed to have, women in our lives that supported us in terms of the work that we've done. So the conversation kind of started when we were talking about getting married. So I saw Ashley doing such amazing work around women's rights, and especially with Hijab, World Hijab Day organization. And, at that point, I'm like, for Ashley, hijab was a sense of women's empowerment. And I think that's really where the seed planted, women's empowerment, hijab. So that's when we started talking about possibly, I proposed the idea of like, inshallah, if you were to get married, I would love to do a scholarship fund honoring the work that you've done. But, the idea of the Pearson Khan Award for Women's Empowerment is not just about women's empowerment. It's about championing women, girls who have financial difficulty, and in spite of financial difficulty, they're able to focus on women's empowerment. And our story kind of resonates around that quite a bit. So, I can speak for myself. So I didn't really grow up privileged, right? I grew up with immigrant family that really struggled to raise us, and my parents did a tremendous job embedding really good values in us. And actually, although she was not Muslim growing up, her family also instilled really good values and hard work. And the people around her weren't very well off, right? So we both come in from that experience. And so when growing up, alhamdulillah, like I had a lot of opportunities. If I go back and look at struggling academically in high school, running for student council, and I didn't qualify to run for student council because my marks weren't up to par. And a female teacher allowed me to get that exempt in order for me to run for student council. And she said, next year, you need to get at least, an 80 average. And next year, I ended up getting a 90 average, right? And, those were the female leaders throughout my life that championed me. But when I look at university, I had female leaders around me supporting me, even professional life as well. And alhamdulillah, the opportunities I had really allowed me to be successful in what I do. And obviously hard work is a component of it. Allah's blessings is another huge component of it. And the people that come along the way all support you. My mom, she's, as a housewife, but she also supported me quite a bit as well, focusing on those values. So that when we came up with the scholarship fund, it was really around championing our experiences, joint experiences, and then going into, putting that into a framework. So alhamdulillah, that's how this scholarship fund came about.
That is amazing. Sorry, I have to cough, and this is a live show, so you know how it is during Ramadan. But that is amazing what you mentioned, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it to Ashley to share about, you mentioned World Hijab Day. So if you don't mind sharing about your involvement with World Hijab Day. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. I got involved with World Hijab Day when I was doing grad school. During my undergrad, I became friends with a Muslim woman. I had never, I think, had a Muslim friend before. I think she was the very first one that I met. And I know that she and other Muslims in the community who especially wore hijab noticed some Islamophobia in our town. It was Arkansas, very rural state. You don't really see a lot of hijabs or like Muslims in general. So when she left and she went back home, I learned about World Hijab Day, and I wanted to wear the hijab for her and all of the other students on the college campus that had experienced something negative. And so I started participating in World Hijab Day. It was 2017. I applied to be an ambassador, and at the time I was Christian. So I got heavily involved. I eventually moved to a bigger city, the state capital, and so I felt like I could do more there. And as I got more involved, I got introduced to the Muslim community there. And World Hijab Day basically led me to learning a lot more about Islam, of course. And so Ramadan 2019, it was June. I was taking the 30-day hijab challenge that World Hijab Day does. And I decided to fast because I was going to go to the mosque and visit my friends. So I was like, you know what? I want the full experience. That way I can be a better advocate for these Muslim women. And so by the end of Ramadan, I took my Shahada. And yeah, that's how World Hijab Day played a role. Played a huge role in my life, and afterwards I became even more involved. So it's been such an interesting journey, and it's been so much fun, and I've met some amazing people along the way. So I'm always so happy to talk about World Hijab Day.
I think you're on mute.
I think you're muted.
I was because of my coughing before. I'm sorry. I was saying that I think that's how we originally connected, through World Hijab Day. So alhamdulillah for that. And for those that don't know what World Hijab Day organization is, if you don't mind sharing just again briefly when it's held and then any other events that World Hijab Day has.
Sure. So World Hijab Day itself is every February 1st. And the World Hijab Day organization has many initiatives. So it all started with a day where non-Muslims and Muslim women who don't wear hijab can wear hijab for a day to stand in solidarity. Because as we see in the news, there are lots of times where people try to take away our hijabs. They try to make laws against it, things like that. And so there's just a lot of negative energy surrounding it. So like I mentioned, I was doing it to be a better advocate, and here I am. I wear the hijab today, and I'm Muslim. So every February 1st, women are invited to partake in this day. And then, of course, there was the Hijab 30 challenge during Ramadan. And since then, I would participate in 2017. Since then, the initiatives have grown. So we also do a fast for unity. So people can do fasting challenges with us during Ramadan. And now we have Muslim History Month in May. So that started last year. We're continuing that. So everything is basically a global initiative. So World Hijab Day organization is a global organization. So we're hoping that many countries, all countries, will eventually get involved with Muslim History Month. And basically, we just want to highlight the things that Muslims have done in history that have segued things in like technology and science, because Muslims have contributed so much, and there's so much that people don't know about it, and we just want to spread the word. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And as I shared, that is how I connected with you, through Sister Nazma Khan, the founder of World Hijab Day organization. And, I'm really grateful for her because she has spearheaded a lot of these, and especially with the International Muslim History Month that's in May. That's a big deal. 2022 will be the second annual. Is that correct? I think.
Yes. So we just hope to continue growing, and that's why we want, to reach out to different countries and get as much involvement as we can so we can continue to grow, because we've had online conferences for World Hijab Day, and inshallah this year we'd like to do one for Muslim History Month. We're going to do that. It'll be on Instagram and YouTube. So World Hijab Day is on all social media platforms. You can find us World Hijab Day, and we're online. We have a website, everything. And so people will be able to watch us. So for example, I'm a host. So every Friday in May, someone's going to interview maybe somebody who has knowledge in Islamic history so we can all learn more.
Yes, that'll be perfect. Every Friday in May, inshallah, we'll check it out and follow World Hijab Day and all the social platforms that you shared. And, so far, two things that you both touched on relating to women's empowerment. And I think that's beautiful. Going back to Brother Imran, you have a very interesting career history yourself. And, if people are interested, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what you do, just a little bit, and then how, you can get involved, how you're involved in any professional organizations, and how others can learn from you through mentorship or otherwise.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes. So alhamdulillah, I'm very, very fortunate and blessed to have a very unique career trajectory. I did my undergrad in political science. My master's was in immigration. So I was always that, student that really focused on human rights. And for me, my dream job was to eventually work in the public sector, do really cool policy changes that would impact lives. And alhamdulillah, I had that opportunity, right? So after I finished my master's, I worked as a senior policy advisor with the provincial government in Ontario. So I did a lot of cool policy work around developmental services for people with developmental disability or delay. And I also did some really cool policy work around international students entering Canada for their post-secondary education pursuits. And then, alhamdulillah, it was a dream job, because that was my dream at that point. And then I realized that, I'm getting a little bored. So let me try something different. So at that point, I had an idea of starting a market research company that really focused on bringing international work into North America. And, I've always done a lot of work around diversity inclusion. I was involved with Pan Am Games with diversity inclusion. I worked with the Ontario government with their diversity inclusion strategy. So for me, D&I was really important. So I want to leverage my D&I experience by bringing work from international clients into North America. And that's what I did when I started my market research company. Eventually, alhamdulillah, it picked up quite well. And in March of 2021, we were acquired by a major market research company in US. It's a US company that bought us. And then that's how they started to expand their presence in Canada, and also tailored to the APAC region, which I always focused on in my business. So now I serve as a senior vice president with a Schlesinger Group is the name of the company. It is a German origin name, but it is an American company. And my job there is to lead our APAC strategy. So that's the work that I do. Alhamdulillah, running a business, if anyone who's in business understand that it can expedite your career quite well. And I think that's really the position that I was in. So now when I look at, how do I give back to community? Well, when I was a student, I found that informational interviews are one of the most valuable assets that anyone can apply when they're looking for career opportunities, right? Whether you're a student studying or you're a professional in a managerial role or an associate role, that's really one of the best ways to gather information on careers that would work for you. I'm more than happy to speak to anyone that's interested in my field or interested in my journey. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. But another great organization I would recommend is Max One. Max One is a Canada-based association for Muslim professionals. So when we're looking at championing Muslims and empowering Muslims, I think that's a great organization to look at. They have a mentorship program targeting Muslim mentors and mentees. They have just recently started, their focus in US as well. So they, inshallah, I hope they expedite their growth in US because they add a lot of value. Connect with them, try to understand their programs. And, the work that Ashley is doing is also really important. It is very important for us to focus on Muslim History Month, right? Because it's an opportunity for us to showcase Muslim success. And I think, in mainstream media, that's often neglected. So, it is our responsibility as Muslims to be there supporting other Muslims, but, our job as Muslims, whatever career path you're in or stage of life you're in, when you get involved in organizations like World Hijab Day or Muslim History Month, you're really allowing future growth of Muslims. And I think that's really where we're trying to focus on as much as possible, is the growth on how we can help and support Muslims, whether they're males or females, and just empowering Muslims. I think that's important.
Amazing. Yes, that is outstanding. And if someone were to want to follow you on LinkedIn, they would just search Imran Khan. Is that
Yeah,
the best?
there's quite a bit of Imran Khans on LinkedIn. They can search Imran Khan, Toronto, Ontario location. If they can press Schlesinger Group, you're more than welcome to put that into LinkedIn as well and connect with me. I am more than happy to speak to anyone that's really interested about their own career growth.
Oh, and Ashley, what about you? How can people follow you and find you and all the amazing work you're doing with World Hijab Day as well?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can usually just type in "Call Me Mrs. Khan," which is my Instagram handle, or just Ashley Pearson Khan, and you'll find me.
That is amazing. So I'm going to recap in the end all the beautiful things that you covered. So if anyone missed anything, I'll recap. But this segment of the show is when I like to turn thinking about it is Ramadan. This is a live show. As you saw, I coughed in the beginning. We come on live here to talk real life with Muslims about how they're experiencing their Ramadan. It's the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I would love to hear how you both celebrate, any traditions that you're creating, or what you like to do, especially during this month together.
So Ramadan has looked different, of course, the past couple of years. And I guess last year was my first time in Canada. And so being in a new home, in a new area, I was like, I want to decorate. So I always prepare for Ramadan by decorating and making sure it feels like Ramadan. That's so important. And unfortunately, we didn't get to go to the mosque last year, but this year, alhamdulillah, we're able to. And so that's been such a huge thing for us to go together. We go to the mosque, maybe for a Taraweeh. We've been going for Qiyam and things like that. So I think that's one of the biggest things, is just being able to go to the mosque and get to meet people within the community, because it's, we want to be more involved with our community. That's what we've been talking about. But we haven't been able to go to the mosque as much, because even when you go for like Friday prayer, for example, we weren't, supposed to like linger and mingle and wear your masks and everything. And now I get to meet people and we get to go to the mosque to pray. And it's just such a calming thing during Ramadan to be able to do now. So I think that's something we won't take for granted again.
Yeah. And, growing up for me, mosque was such an important part of my life. Alhamdulillah, when you're born Muslim, I think you really got to sit there and just appreciate the blessing that Allah has given you. When I was in undergrad, Qiyam was something that I really thoroughly enjoyed. And those who don't know, Qiyam is when Muslims pray early mornings, late night, early morning. So during the winter months, we would start Qiyam at 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. and finish at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And now, because, the days are longer, our Qiyam at the mosque starts at 2 and at 3:30. So we do that every night for the last 10 nights. Even though I have work in the morning, I don't care. I think, when you're looking at, spiritual growth, Ramadan is the prime month for that. And because we kind of missed out on the last 2 Ramadans, the first Ramadan during COVID, we weren't married. So we were in the process of courtship. So that's also when the major lockdown happened. So everything around the world closed. So we didn't really get to experience that much. So the second Ramadan, we prayed Qiyam at home together. And we got up in the morning and prayed. And alhamdulillah, I think this year we appreciate the fact things are opening up again. So we just don't want to miss out on that. So we've been very active with our Taraweehs. It's been really cool. It's been a lot of fun. And I think for anyone who's newlywed, these are like the dreams, right? Like to be able to go with your spouse and pray. And, alhamdulillah, we're kind of leveraging that as much as possible. And then we're sad Ramadan's coming to an end. But, I think it's definitely one of our best Ramadans. We really enjoyed this one.
There was definitely a lot going on. And we got to do iftars with family, because even last year, we didn't want to get into big gatherings. And so we would actually do kind of like to-go iftars. Everyone would take turns making food and delivering it. And we're all kind of a little spread out here. But it was fun, like getting in the car and driving and leaving food and kind of waving at everyone. And this year we got together as a family. So that was really great too.
Yeah. Family iftars are prime. And if you're South Asian or Middle Eastern, you know the importance of family iftar, and we have a really good time spending time with our family.
And Ashley, do you mind sharing anything? We had another individual who was a convert or revert to Islam, and she shared some words about, how to respect and help people that have come new to Islam, and maybe this might be a time where they may be very lonely if they're not married or if they don't have a family. You're in a slightly different of a situation, but do you have anything from your experience that you'd like to share? This is your platform to let us know.
For sure. So my first Ramadan as a Muslim was 2020. And so there were times where I would drive to the mosque and they would hand us food through our window in our car. And then I would drive home and sit in my apartment alone and eat. And I think I did that for about a week when a friend reached out to me. She said, I think she was eating and I just popped into her head. I think somebody said something and she was like, oh my gosh, Ashley's probably eating alone. So she messages me and I am. And she told me if I was comfortable, I was welcome to her home. And so eventually I was not even spending any nights alone. I was always going somewhere to eat with her and her family, eating at their house and everything. And so that made a huge difference. And that same friend actually has moved and she was alone. And alhamdulillah, she was invited over to someone's house. So I was like, she did that for me. Now look at her, that someone's doing that for her, and it made such a huge difference. So if there are reverts who are like me and they have, they're married and have family, I think that they kind of know what that's like. So I definitely implore those reverts and born Muslims to invite people to your home if you can, or at least reach out to them and ask how they're doing. It's so important because there are a lot of people, there's some people who even have to hide the fact that they're Muslim at home.
Yeah.
So just sending them a simple text, calling them, or inviting them over is so important. And I was at an event yesterday for reverts, and I had a girl. She said, "I haven't met anybody who has reverted and gone quite like as far as I have." Like, oh, she's like, "Oh, you're married, and can we talk sometime?" So I think it's really important, and it can make a huge difference in someone's life for sure.
Yes, that's so important, especially as we think of we're in these last 10 days and we're supposed to think of simple things we can do even that are charity, because our charity is amplified during Ramadan and there's so many chances of reward even in these last 10 days as well. And what you just described, even just thinking of someone and texting them, as simple as that, doing that can make a huge difference in someone's life. So we of course hope that we can empower, generations of people and, have empowerment, but there's always other smaller, more beautiful ways as well to empower others. This is an amazing conversation. I will try to recap, and then of course, if I've left anything out or if there's anything you both want to share, I'm going to open the floor to you. So from my takeaway from this amazing conversation is we actually did start talking about women's empowerment, and I loved, Ashley, hearing your story about you even covered about how hijab has brought you so much barakah as a revert to Islam. We learned about you. We learned about your experience with World Hijab Day organization and the amazing things that Nazma Khan, the CEO, is doing with World Hijab Day organization. We learned about International Muslim History Month. I believe I actually remember that the title of the topic is From the Golden Ages to Modern Times. So Brother Imran, he was saying that, we need to find ways to help empower this future growth of Muslims. And I think we are going to of course, cover people that are from the past and the ancient past that have contributed, but also people in the modern ages, because you're right, alhamdulillah, Muslims have so much to be proud of. And, I think that's great to amplify those voices. I also really appreciated learning about Max One and Imran Khan and the work you're doing. I hope people can find you on LinkedIn. And, I'm just wondering, is there anything else, that you'd like the audience to know or you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I think there's one thing I do want to add. I think
Sure.
when we look at interracial marriages, and especially being married to a revert,
Yes.
there's a lot of challenges that come with it. And for me, like I kind of grew up in an environment where I had a lot of revert friends. So the idea of being a revert was not something that was foreign or new to me. It was something that I kind of understood from high school until now, right? And I also knew the challenges that reverts come from, having families, that are not Muslim, navigating through, the personal family struggles on the revert. And then when you get married to especially a South Asian family, there's cultural challenges that come in. So, Alhamdulillah, I'm very, very grateful and blessed. I think we're both equally blessed. My side of the family, they were kind of born and raised in Saudi. So there's a lot of cultural challenges that I don't experience because of that, because they're just focused on the fiqh. So that's been a huge benefit, but also keeping an understanding, right? So for me, I'm super understanding of Ashley's side of the family. I would never put her in a position where I make her feel bad about the background that her parents come from, or etc. And she's also like very adaptable with my family. I think that's really important. And whether you're married to a revert or it's just interracial marriage, is just, I think respect is really important. That's worked quite well for us. We're about to enter our second year of marriage, alhamdulillah. And we kind of have this philosophy of just respect. And I think that goes a long way. So I know a lot of reverts have challenges in their marriage, or they're trying to get married and they can't find a suitable partner. For the revert, just be mindful of the person you're trying to have courtship with and trying to meet them. Your Islamic values are really important. Preserve that for your spouse. And then for the born Muslim who's looking to revert, it looks glamour from the outside. There are real challenges. And you need to make sure that you have the patience and the sabr to be able to support your spouse, because they need you the most. And I do that by allowing her to do whatever she wants. No barriers at all. So I tell her, you want to focus on Islamic education, pursue it. Why not, right? You want to do stuff with World Hijab Day, by all means, because if that empowers her, then she'll be happy. And at the end of the day, we'll be happy as a family, inshallah.
Ashley, did you want to add anything to that? How do you feel being in a marriage like this? And any words of advice for others?
Well, alhamdulillah, I'm so glad that I found Imran, because I converted, and I think it was like 8 or 9 months later I met him. And of course, being a revert, I was very nervous about marriage because it was very different. And you hear stories about people potentially taking advantage of converts to Islam because they might not have all of the knowledge and be steered the wrong way. But alhamdulillah, there are sometimes things that I learn, in my studies, and I share with Imran, and maybe he didn't know. And so we both kind of learn together as well. And so I'm really grateful that I'm able to do work with World Hijab Day and study and do all the things that I'm able to do. And that's because of his support.
MashaAllah, that's beautiful. I appreciate everything that you've shared so candidly, and it reminds me of a quote I keep hearing. So I think it's, you educate a man, you educate a man. You educate a woman, you can educate a generation. And so I heard that theme as well of, both of you sharing about how women in your lives and being a woman can be empowering, wearing hijab can be empowering. And, there are so many stereotypes that I really hope people took away, and you're dispelling them just by being you. And I pray that you will both have a lot more success, inshallah, in this dunya and the akhirah, and especially if people to find out about all the things that you're doing. So once again, jazakallah khair for coming. And, on behalf of ITVusa, again, thank you. And thanks to everyone for watching our daily show. Please stay tuned. We'll be coming live every day for the rest of Ramadan. And I really appreciate everyone's time. Without further ado, I'll just say assalamu alaikum to you both, and assalamu alaikum to everyone. Take care.